will not use much of the slides there because it's all practical that we need to understand, right? So just a short summary, what is data extension? So data extension is something where you can store your data, right? It's simply a table, and you can add in what all information you can add of your customer. Suppose you're selling, uh, you can say a sportswear, right? And then you want to capture the data, and you want to target them, but they have not purchased with you. So what you want to do is you want to target them through Marketing Cloud, sending them emails, coupons, and what all things you can do digitally. You want to do it, so you will leverage Marketing Cloud. But how you're gonna target them? There must be a source, right? So you need to have phone number, you need to have their email ID, you need to have their name, address, last name, age group, gender, so that you can, pitch them right product. And if you're also aware about their time zone, you will be able to send them the emails just at the right time that they open it, and then your conversion rate increases. So that is all the information that you can capture into data extension, right? Uh, Data extension are of three types, but we use two types of data extension mostly. So three data extensions are standard data extension, filtered, and random data extension. uh, but when you will actually work on Marketing Cloud, or someone who is currently working on Marketing Cloud, they know that mostly we use two types of data extension. That is, one is standard and second is filtered, right? And then the category is, one is sendable and one is non-sendable. So sendable is where you can send the emails and SMSs to those people who are currently in that particular or respective data extension. So while creating data extension, you have to declare that whether it's sendable or non-sendable, and that declaration has to be made to Marketing Cloud, right? So that is all from the slide perspective. Let's move on to the uh, demo part, right? So this is my Marketing Cloud instance, right? So you see there are many options, starting off with Email Studio, Mobile Studio, Social Studio, and ending up uh, till Einstein App Exchange and Platform. So where do I find the data extension part? So I'll move into either Email Studio. So I'll click on Email. I'll move to all subscribers, and then I can click on data extension from here. And there's alternate path to it. So these are all the data extension on my screen, and on the left hand side I have the folder. Folder helps you in the categorization of the data extension. So if you have done something and you don't want it to get mixed with others, so that you're not able to find it when you need it, you can create a folder here, and then you can put your data extensions here. There's another way you can uh, access data extension, is you can click on audience builder, click on contact builder, and then you click on data extensions here. Right, so there are three uh, options that I can see: data extension, shared item, and synchronized data extension. So right now I have only one org, that is consulting training. Suppose you have a number of business unit. In that case, the shared items and synchronized data extension are used, and they can be uh, leveraged or accessed within across all the business unit that you have. And but if I'm creating my data extension into this first one, then you will be able to access it only the current business unit. So right now I have only one business unit. You can always go into setup and create as many business units as you can, right? So let's say I go into here and I create a folder. Let me say demo by, then I click save, and I see. So I have created my folder. I want to create all the data extensions in my folder so that it's easy for me to access it. Now I'm going to create a data extension there. I'll give the data extension name as let's say DE sports. I'm gonna have my target audience's data into this data extension. So let me name it as this. External key, if you have external key, you can give you if you want to generate, you can enter one from your end. If you want marketing cloud to generate, and you can leave it blank. Description is also optional. This is the standard data extension. So as we will move further, I'll let you know how to create filter data extension, its use, its purpose. For now, we need to understand what the standard data extension is, and then here this is the location. And now I'll have to make the declaration whether it's a sendable data extension or not. Testable. So testable is data extension is used when I'm creating or I have already created the email, right? I want to send it to my target audience, but before sending it, I want to test it whether that email is looking good or not. All the links that those are there in these uh, email is working fine or not. So in that case, I can select is testable. Uh, so while making a test send or while doing a test send, I can always use this data extension. If I'm not selecting this, I will not be able to use this data extension for testing purpose. But I want to target my audience, so I'll select this as is sendable. I click on next. Uh, Retention settings off. I don't. So retention is after a certain period of time, the data which resides in data extension will vanish off. So say retention period is 6 days. Where say next after 6 days, all the data that will be there in this data extension will be wiped out. Uh, it depends on use case. If you have a use case where after n number of days your data is not is of use or significance to you, you can set the retention period. If you want to keep the data for long and you want to target them again in future, don't set the retention period, keep it off. And then I'll say next. So while creating the fields, uh, you first have to either do subscriber key. So subscriber key is a unique key which identifies your contacts. To note, in data extension, no two records can have same subscriber key. Subscriber is unique. Subscriber key is a unique identification of a particular record. Uh, Either you can use subscriber key or you can replace it with email address. So no two persons should have two or same email address that resides in your data extension, right? If you want data extension to um, analyze that there is no record with same email address, you can select this as primary key. So when you select this as a primary key, data extension will make sure that all the data that exists in this data extension that I have created or in the process of creation, uh, so the entries those are there should not have the same email address. So there should be only one record with one particular email address. And then as soon as you select this as primary key, this becomes required. This cannot be null, right? And then I can have first name, um, so last name, age, gender, and you can think of any number of fields that you want to create. There's no limit. And I've declared that my email address should relate to subscriber key. So there shouldn't be any uh, unique key that will be generated. Marketing Cloud will copy the subscriber key from the email address field. Right now, if you want, you can make this as required so that if you have a form that someone is filling out, that form will ensure that it is not getting submitted if the first name field is blank, right? You can do it as required, not required, basis on that. The one who is submitting the form will be executed. So I'll say complete here. Now there are two ways I can enter the data into this data extension. I have six field count. External key marketing cloud has already generated for me. I'll click on records. So there are two ways to enter the data. Uh, I can say, um, let's say I can enter my email address, email at the rate xyz.com. First name as well, M H H 31, and so you can. I have selected this as text, right? You can always let me show. So if you go back, you see all these are in the text format. But if you want age to be a number, it should only uh, contains number. Then you can change. Or wait, I cannot do it. So let me delete this. So now I can create attribute and say age. This will ensure that I'm not entering the text here. So other data type that exist here is boolean is used for true and false. Phone is for capturing the phone number. Locale is used for your the country that you resides in. So if I say IN, it stands for India. US for USA. So on and so forth. So for age, let me take this as number. Okay, so now I have the age as number. I can change the text of mobile with to phone, but it will gonna take some time. So skipping that thing, let me add a record. So I was entering this test record here. This is not the valid email ID since I only have one. I'm not entering it because I want to do it the test one. 31 gender and mobile 999 any number. So you can set the limit to 10 character so that anyone who is entering the phone number should not exceed the limit. I'll say save. The another way I can add data to is I can click on say new, right. So what all fields that I have, email address, first name, so I'll say email. The name of the field should exactly match the name that those are here. Page. Uh, the, um, say four is mobile. So I say one. If I enter my email address as vimalatra@xyz.com, then it will throw an error. I won't be able to enter the data. So I'm putting a one at the end. Right. Data it is going to accept is we should be in the CSV format, right? So let's say it's one, select this as CSV, and then save. Right now, if you go here, and then you have to click on import, and import into data extension. Click on OK. Choose a file on desktop. So delimiter I have selected comma. If your delimiter is tab, you can select this, or else you can specify that you have certain else is a delimiter like pipe or so on. Uh, so I've updated my file here. So the import type should be add and update. So if we're gonna add the record and update the existing record, so suppose I have already added a record and I want to update its phone number. So if I select as add and update, there will be one record that will be added to the data extension, and the second operation that this import will do is it will update the phone number or the age or my email address, right? So that is the purpose of using add and update, or you can only do add, right? So both are valid in my case because since it's a new entry, I cannot select update only. But I can select overwrite. So it will overwrite all the data that exists in the data extension. Suppose there are 50,000 data that exists in data extension, but when I'm running this operation of import with overwrite, I'll only have one record. So you have to be careful while selecting these options, and you have to select override when you are confident that you want to go ahead with it. So I'm selecting add an update for now. I'll select next. So now you can see that it has already did the mapping. You can do this. You can select map by head row, or you can select map manually. So in that case, you'll have to do it manually. So suppose my field has no space between email or address, or I have only written F name instead of first name, and you want to map it, you can select map manually. But now, since I have exactly the same name as in data extension with respect to the sheet that I've created, I can select this as map by head row and click on next, and then I'll say finish and click on done. So now the challenge is you'll have to refresh it. Now you can see the record count has moved to 2 from 1. So if you go on records, you'll see now there's second entry, right, with mobile number this. Okay, so I've entered age here. Oh, this is error from my side, so sorry for that. Right, so this is how you create a data extension and add data to it. Now this data extension can be used in n number of places, right, depending upon your use. Now there's one more thing. So we're gonna create one more data extension. Uh, just do data extension, and so suppose I have email address of the audience that I want to target, right? And I have not added the locale field. Let me add this here and say, let me select this as locale and then say something, right? So the purpose of creating this second data extension is, suppose I have a use case where I have a record with this email ID vmalhotra@xyz.com. I have all the details in one data extension, but I have uh, the same record here with a field called locale. But how will I going to if I want to see for a particular record what the locale is in this data extension, right? So what I can do is I can go on data designer, and then I will say create an attribute group. You can select anything, right? Test 3, that's it, and click on play create. So now you have you already have a data extension, so you can click on link data extension. We'll go down. Sorry. I'll select this data extension. Say email address with email address and save. Now I will create on this because I want to link these two data extension. So I click on test2 and I map this email address with this and say save. So the purpose of creating this is, let's say I'm living in India and I have a plan, or you know, if I think that my audience over certain number of years, after certain number of years, might move to a different location, so I can use uh, these data extension in the journey and say that depending upon the locale that person is living in, send the emails at his or her time zone when he's awake, when he's not sleeping, and I'll define the uh, time zone as say 8 a.m. in the morning to 8 p.m. in the evening. So with this configuration, that person will going to receive the email in that particular hour, and after that will be off time, and nobody wants to, nobody will gonna open that email because we generally we don't use the phone so often after 9 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. and we get into family time. So that's the reason. So if I want to target my audience in the journey builder through journey builder, so I can create a link here and I say, as the data is updated with time, the journey should add, if the person is living in India, say in particular current year, the email will go with IST time zone, and then if the person has moved to US, say, then the applicable time zone like Eastern or Central will be applicable. But there can be another some many use cases. But the purpose is I can now have I do not have to uh, export this data extension and this data extension into Excel file and then apply the VLOOKUP formula to see if a particular what particular record has what time zone, right? And this data relationship will serve the purpose for me. So marketing cloud will do all the operations for me. This is all about standard data extension. Right now, we're gonna discuss what filtered data extension do. I'll go here and select data extension. Meanwhile, let me show how filtered data extension will help me in extracting the data based on the filter. So if I go here in data extension, uh, say I select this cloud-based data extension. Wait a second. Um, Let me select this data extension. So it has 33 records. I have email ID. score, likelihood. So these all data has been generated by Einstein. So I'll do the analysis based on this column which says email engagement persona, right? So you can see selective shoppers, dormant, loyalist, right? Win back. I want to focus on, let's say, dormant ones. So these are the people who have not opened my emails for quite a long time. So I need to come up with somewhat other strategy so that they these people open my email ID, and then when they open my email ID, the chances of clicks and conversion increases. Loyalists will always buy for me. Uh, I'm not. I will not be sure about the future. Let's say 2 years down the line, but I can certainly say that loyalists will gonna buy from me in near future for sure, right? So my focus will be on dormant ones. So let's say if I have records in some thousands or millions and billions, I cannot just have an overview and see who all who all are there under dormant category. These are only 33, but I can see that by just scrolling up and down. But if the records are high in number, I cannot do that. In that case, filtered data extension comes in handy. So I'll go in here and click on create and select filtered data extension. I'll select this data extension. This is my target data extension that I want to see. So now, as I've selected the email address, the data extension, all the fields those resides in that data extensions have come up, right? So I want to target with this field email engagement persona. So I'll say email engagement persona is equal to. So I'm not sure about the name, right? So I can say contains say dormant, or if you want to select equals, then you can copy this complete name and then you can copy that here. Anything you can do, your your purpose should be served, right? Now click on save and build. I'll say all dormant, and I'll select the location. Um, demo here, and click on save. As soon as I hit the save button, the processing will begin and it will run the query on the whole data extension. So as soon as the processing will complete, it will be shown on the screen that processing has been done.
Uh, Vaibhav, can we take some questions now?
Let me see. It doesn't take much time.
Okay, sure, sure. No worries.
Just 2 minutes more, I guess it will be done.
Yeah, no worries. Please continue.
Let me see. I go to this function. So the processing is still happening. Now it says available and it has fetched 26 records for me. So when I'll click on the refresh it. Select on data extension. So I go here and click on records. So now I've got all the records. You can see on this last column, it says all the dormant ones. Now, when I'm sending out the emails and then when I'm selecting the recipient, I can select this data extension and then I can target those people. Right. So that's the advantage of using a filtered data extension. Similarly, you can create measures here. Right. Let me click on measures. So these are all the measures. So I can create a new. So let's say I want to see people who have unsubscribed, right? So I can select this. So I want to see people who have Gmail as the domain, uh, and those who have opted out. So I can say Gmail uh, domain is equal to gmail.com, right? So I can select that. I can say save. I can specify a name. That's okay. Um, save, right? And then when I'm creating my let's say filtered data extension, so if I go on data and say create, I say filtered data extension. Again, if I select this, sorry, uh, what has gone on? Extension. Yes, right, so select this data extension here and select this and say okay. So I can drag all the measures that are there. Say total emails not clicked on last 30 days is equal to say 5, right? Or people who have not opened my emails in last 30 days, I have sent 10 emails and out of those 6 have not been opened. So I can set this filter, right? Or I can say this measure. I can say this measure is equal to let's say 4. So it will fetch me the record where the Gmail people who have, you know, their domain was Gmail ID and they have not opened the emails, and out of n number of emails that I've sent, the 4 emails they have not sent, or you can say greater than or less greater than 4. So people who have not opened the emails, 4 or more emails, those people have not opened up. I have sent them n number of emails to them, and they out of n, the four more emails were not opened, and then it will get me the results there. So in my records, nobody is there with the Gmail domain, so it will not gonna give me any records, right? So I'm not running it. So, but you can use this measure uh, in your filtered data extension to get your desired results. Um, Pretty much it. All contacts is used for SMS purpose, right? Let's see if I go here, all contacts. By the way, this is not related to data extension. This is related to SMS. So if you have opted in or opted out, you can see under this all contacts. So we can skip this because it's not in the scope of this session. I guess pretty much it, Kathy, from my end. I've covered what all data extension can be leveraged, right? So you can take it up from here.
Okay, we do have few questions for you. Let me read out to you. Can the
Yes.
data from the data extension auto refreshable in the journey builder?
Uh, so in Journey Builder, you can use two types of data. So if you want to do automatic refresh, then you have to select contact uh, as the source, contact journey, right? And if you don't want to refresh it, and you want to make sure that throughout the journey, whatever the initial data was, it should be there till the end of the journey. Then you can select journey data. So you get two options there while configuring the journey, contact or journey. So for real time update, you can use contact data. So this is how you refresh.
Okay, thank you. So, if someone wants to become a Salesforce Marketing Cloud support engineer, what all things they should start with? Can you please elaborate?
Uh, so there are two parts to it. One is to become a functional consultant. Second is technical. So if you want to just move on the path of becoming a functional consultant, and then you can you know have the videos, or there are trainings by Salesforce, like mobile studio, for ad studio, for Einstein, for email, for data extension, for journey builder, uh, for all the you know uh, what you can say, the offerings of the marketing cloud. For every offering, you can select the video that you want to see, or the trailheads you can do. With respect to technical path, if you want to become technical gain technical expertise in marketing cloud, then you can start off with learning SSJS. SSJS is the proprietary technical language that is used within marketing cloud only, and it is not used elsewhere. Along with SSJS, you can use AMScript, and the third is SQL. So SQL, MScript, and SSJS. These three language, if you can learn, you can become a test engineer and gain technical expertise in marketing cloud this way.
Thank you so much, Weber, for such an insightful session.